Welcome back, Cristo Rey family, to another episode of the podcast. I'm your host, Jay Sean, and I'm here with my co-host,
Liam,
Paris,
and we have a very special guest today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Andy Ratliff.
Okay. So many people may not be familiar with the position that you do, and because this is the first year that we've had it, would you just like to talk a little bit about your position and kind of what you do?
Yeah, so I was brought in as a school safety and security officer. I used to work over in Cova, right next door, as director of security. I was asked to be on the safety board over here to kind of help because of my past, my expertise from my past in law enforcement. And at some point, Mr. Patrick asked me if I'd be interested in actually coming and working here with you guys as the safety and security officer here in the school. So that's kind of how all that developed. So my day-to-day just walking around the school, inside, outside, making sure there's nobody in the building or out on our property that shouldn't be here. And if so, just kind of getting them out of here. Just to make sure you guys can go about your day and enjoy it, not worry about anything else but being kids, right?
Yeah.
So you mentioned before that you used to work at Encova. How many years did you used to work there?
I was in Encova for 3 years.
3.
Yeah.
And before then, did you have any other experience?
Yeah, so I am actually, and still to this day, I'm part-time now, but I'm a law enforcement officer, kind of at the end of my career where I'm getting ready to retire, so it's moving into my retirement years because I'm old. But, so that's kind of where I was at prior to all that. I coach high school football, so I'm around kids all the time. So it's just kind of like a natural transition for me to. Yeah. I'm in my comfort zone.
That's good. I know you talked about it briefly, but what made you want to come to Cristo Rey specifically?
The atmosphere here, being around here for the meetings. I come over every couple of weeks for the meetings. So being over here and just kind of getting to know people, kind of felt real comfortable here. And then some of the students last year, they would come over for lunch. I guess it's the seniors. They would come over for lunch over to Encova, and I'd chat with them and stuff. It's kind of, I don't know. I mean, it's very homey for me. That makes sense. I think, I've got kids myself and coaching for as long as I have. I was a police officer on a college campus for a long time, so I've been around young people for a really long time. It's just, I'm comfortable with it.
Hey guys, we're here to tell you that November is Native American Heritage Month. Did you know that the earliest Canaanite saint born in what one day be the United States was a Native American woman? Born in 1656, Katiri Tekakwitha was an Algonquin Mohawk lay woman from a Mohawk village which is now New York State. A smallpox outbreak killed her entire family when she was 4 years old and left her face badly scarred. She converted to Catholicism at the age of 19 and took the name Katiri in honor of Saint Catherine of Siena. She left her village and spent the remaining 5 years of her life as a Jesuit mission, where she became well known for her virtue and deep devotion of her faith. Nicknamed the Lily of the Mohawks, Katiri Tekakwitha was declared a saint in 2012.
what made you want to be a police officer?
I've always had a heart for service, for public service. Started, I guess, at a young age in my church. But, I've always wanted to be one of those that can help other people when they're in need. I tried to go fire first. My dad was a firefighter. I couldn't make it through the testing. I made it through the testing. I just didn't get hired. It's really competitive. First responder work is really competitive, so I just went the other way.
How long do you have at the academy?
8 months, and then it's ongoing training. So your initial is 8 months, and there's a lot of requirements you got to do to even pass to get out of the academy. Mm-hmm. But even after you're out of the academy, there's a lot of training every year that you have to have for the state to So it's like an ongoing education type deal.
So what is like, I don't want to say average, but like a typical training day, or what was like a typical training day for you?
In the academy or just in general? Because I specialize in some things. So my training days were a little different than most officers. In the academy, a typical training day, you're up in the morning, you're running, doing calisthenics, and then your class time, learning about laws, watching videos, kind of like in sports where you watch video and break down things. So we would do that, right? Don't do this, or try and do stuff in those routines. And then at the end of the day, we would usually get into some type of hand-to-hand physical combat, whether it's wrestling or boxing, and then hit the weight room, and then dinner and bed. It's nonstop all day in the academy. Out of the academy, a lot of places will have mandatory, like we'll get first aid training. You'll learn, it's called self-aid, buddy aid. So you learn how to take care of wounds if your partner is injured, and how to take care of your own wounds, those types of things. I specialized in active shooter. Yeah, I actually became an instructor for the state of Ohio. So I do it at high schools and businesses and things like that. I also teach law enforcement officers how to respond. So my training was a little more extensive throughout the year than most officers on a daily basis.
Personally, I don't think I'd survive the running aspect.
Yeah, it was rough. It was rough.
Hi guys, it's Vivian. This week we celebrated All Saints Day. To remind us what that was, here's Mr. Loffersweiler Ham.
All Saints Day is celebrated on November the 1st, and it's a time to think about the men and women who have come before us, who have died and are with God in heaven. Their lives are examples for how to live and how to live the faith in many different eras of the church, whether it was in the first few centuries or even in the last few years.
So you mentioned before that you're also a high school coach. So I just wanted to ask, throughout all of the training that you had, what in particular made you want to work with younger people?
But I did prior to going into law enforcement. I'll be 49 in 2 months. So I've been on earth for a little while. I started coaching at a younger age. So I was actually coaching prior to that. I actually got involved with my church, first at my old high school, and then through my church with the Upward program. I don't know if you guys heard of the Upward sports program. So I was doing football and basketball with that program, and as my son started to grow and develop, I kind of got back into it at that high school level again, and I'm still doing it.
That's nice.
Yeah, so since you mentioned that, kids is you like being around kids, how do you feel like that's impacted you in your personal life, in terms of your direct family?
It makes me feel a little younger, just because I can relate on that level sometimes with the kids, but it's very rewarding. As a matter of fact, this weekend, a young man that I coached, he is coming over with his wife and their newborn baby. So the fact that he wants to bring, and when he called me, he's like, "Hey, coach," they still call me coach. So, the fact that he wants to bring his newborn child to my house for me to meet, that's the type of impact that I like to have on kids, which impacts my family in a positive way. My kids see that it's okay to be a good human.
Nice.
So, reflecting on your coaching experience, did you do any sports when you were in high school or maybe even younger?
Yeah, so actually at the age of 6, I started playing football, I boxed, and I wrestled. And I was in martial arts. My dad was a Green Beret, so I kind of grew up learning how to take care of myself. So it was on from there, right? So when I got into, even I guess around elementary, right about 10, I started playing basketball. So then I wrestled basketball, football, and baseball. As I got into middle school, you got to kind of choose at some point between basketball and wrestling. So I chose basketball for the school, but then I wrestled in the summer through a different program, and I did that all the way up till I graduated high school. After high school, so football, basketball, and track were my things in high school. I competed in the state championships 2 years in a row in the 100-meter dash. I had a full ride scholarship to Ohio State to play football. I crushed some vertebrae in my neck my senior year of high school. Being young and dumb, I played through my neck injury, not getting it checked out. When I got to Ohio State for spring ball, they were doing my physical. My neck was really stiff, not very mobile, so they had me go get it checked out, and they found it, and they was like, "You're done." So that kind of ended that. Well, then I found a professional team here in Columbus. Went and tried out for it and made it because they didn't care if I was injured or not. They weren't spending money on me really. So I played there for 2 years. And that's what the ring is I wore today. We won a national championship, so that's what that is. So I've been around it, for a long time, and I try to give that back to the young folks.
Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Emily, and this coming Thursday, the last day teachers will accept work for progress reports, and you will have access to them the following week. And one more thing, reminder, these are just reports to show how your grades are and remind you that you may need to improve them, and nothing is wrong with a little improvement here or there.
So would you say all of the sports and extracurriculars was kind of hard for you to manage?
No, because I was and even still to this day, I don't sit still. It's I always want to be doing something. We're only here for a short period of time. I don't want to waste it.
Do you have any advice for the student athletes at Cristo Rey?
Grades. And all we know, a little different with cross country. But, like with track or the kids who are in basketball or volleyball, preparing every day. So I coach defensive backs, and I require my kids, we have film, Huddle. This thing called Huddle, which a lot of schools have now, where you can watch film of yourself and then of your opponent to see what they do. So I require my guys to watch 2 hours of film each week, which isn't hard. It's really not hard to watch 2 hours of film. So I have them grade themselves from after tomorrow night. I'll have them grade themselves over the weekend. So that's giving them film time. And then I'll have them watch film of the team or get ready to play. What they don't realize is watching that is preparing them to go into the following week. But doing that, prepping and preparing also teaches discipline and responsibility. So, now you can be held accountable. I had 2 guys running yesterday because they didn't get 2 hours of film in. So I held them accountable for not accomplishing what they were asked to do, something pretty simple. So, if you can set those little goals as a student athlete, they don't have to be big ones, just set little ones, just keep checking them off. And by the time you graduate, you'll realize how prepared for the world you actually are, because athletics kind of propels into the real world. You talk about discipline and hard work and work ethic, that type of stuff.
Yeah, I hate my baseball coach last year. Every time you see a teammate, you gotta do 10 push-ups. 8 periods. I had one teammate, all 8 of my classes, including advisory and lunch. And I was like, oh no. I did 60 push-ups by third period, and then I just didn't do it the next day because I'd done 200 push-ups by the end of the day. I was done.
Push-ups are good for you.
So that being said, what would you say your favorite sport / form of physical activity was your favorite out of the course of your life?
Football, by far.
And what about football in particular?
Just the brotherhood that football brings. It's different. I've been in basketball locker rooms and I've been in a wrestling locker room, and football locker rooms are just different character-wise. You could bring anything in there. You have people from all over the world in these locker rooms, and everybody loves each other, and they're all fighting for the same goal. So that aspect of it's carried on to a playing surface where you're competing against another team who's just like you are. Fighting that fight together is pretty awesome. And, for the most part, even if you watch football on TV, you see teams are competitive, but yet there's a brotherhood there. You're out there banging your heads together for, 2 hours. Yeah. So, you see that respect for the other people. So just that feeling of having that team around you, it's kind of what attracted me to the law enforcement world, was having that bond of a team almost. That's just kind of the environment I work well in.
Hey everybody, it's Nishan. You may have noticed that there's a new face in the PWSP office. We've brought him here for a little introduction. We're here with Mr. Fricano, and why don't you give us a little introduction on yourself?
Sure, thanks. Well, thanks for having me here on the podcast. I'm feeling like a celebrity in this moment, so it's really exciting. I love that you all do this too. This is a really cool thing for the school. So my name's Giuseppe Fricano. I actually am coming to Cristo Rey most recently from the Columbus Metropolitan Library. I worked at the library system for about 7 years. I spent most of my time with the Dublin branch, spent a lot of time at the Carl Road branch, and then most recently for the past year before this was at the main library right next door. So obviously pretty close and personal with y'all here at Cristo Rey.
Yeah, what drew you to the PWSP team and Cristo Rey as a whole?
Good question. So I have a connection. I know Miss Miller on the advancement team through some of our work with the library and the Friends of the Library. And she's the one that kind of passed me the opportunity to come volunteer for speed chatting, which was my first real time being inside the school and getting to meet a lot of the students as they were the freshmen as they were finishing up their business training. And it was just so fun. I really had a really valuable experience that day. And I used to work with more youth services and teen focused programming in my roles before my most last one at the library, and I just missed it, and I like really found a lot of value in speed chatting. So that made me apply for the relationship manager role on the PWSP team that was open, and here we are.
And outside of work, like, what do you do for fun?
Good question. I love going to concerts. I'm really into music, so I go to a lot of shows as much as I can. I do that now that though I prefer like colder seasons, so I'm really excited for fall and winter. I'm gonna be spending a lot more time like out at our metro parks, probably going for like hikes and stuff like that. I go for walks. I live in Clintonville, so kind of central. I go for walks in the neighborhood. I like to try out coffee shops, restaurants, things like that. And I spend a lot of time with like my like social circle, friends and family. I really put a lot of time and energy into prioritizing those people. So I spend a lot of time just being social with folks too.
Oh, that's very cool. Who's your favorite artist?
Man, it's hard for me to pick one. I think my favorites right now are probably like Andy Shaw, Faye Webster, Pine Grove. City and Color's been a favorite for a really long time. Nick Drake, a lot of like folk and indie artists I think are where I like find my home base, but I've been to a lot of different shows. I wanted to go to the SZA concert when I was here, but I wasn't about to spend that kind of money on the tickets.
Yeah,
but I wanted to.
Them tickets be getting
They were
crazy.
really, they were wild.
Yeah, for sure. If you guys do see Mr. Fricano out in the hallways, don't forget to say hi, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
So does any of your kids do sports?
My son just finished up playing football. He had a Division I scholarship, played football at Stetson University in Florida. He went down there, blew his shoulder out, so he's done, but he moved back down that way. So he played. My oldest daughter, she's 24. She played softball in high school. And my youngest, she's a freshman this year. She's a volleyball player. So actually, I'm heading to a game from here.
Oh, that's nice.
That's cool.
Wish her luck from us.
Yeah, I'll tell her.
Yeah.
What team is she playing?
They're playing East Knox High School. It's in Mount Vernon, Ohio, way up north, like an hour from here. It's going to be a long drive.
And what high school do you coach?
Cardington.
Cardington.
Yeah, Cardington, Lincoln. So you guys know Mr. Strickland, the new gym teacher. You probably don't have him.
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah, so he's the new gym teacher. Him and I actually coached together at Cardington.
Oh.
I'm the grandpa of our coaching staff. He's pretty young. I actually coached one of his brothers.
So it must have been nice having like a staff member that you were already familiar with.
Yeah, I think for him it's better because he was kind of uncomfortable, starting a new area, right? Because he taught at Cardington last year. So coming down here, I guess we'll have somebody to kind of start that new school year with.
So how would you say like you've integrated into Cristo Rey?
I don't think I'm fully integrated yet. Just trying to get involved with students. I stand in the hallways and chat with people. Some students have been a little nervous. They don't know who I am, and they're like, who's this bald guy standing over here? But
Present.
yeah, so hopefully this will help students open up a little bit. I'm chill as can be, and I want the students to feel comfortable and be involved with me just as much as I am with them. I'm trying to just walk around the cafeteria at lunch. I'll stand outside the gym as kids are coming back in or whatever. That's kind of where I'm at with that portion of it.
So how would you say your first day was being here? Like, did you have any expectations? Or
Zero expectation. I just wanted to come in and just kind of get my face out there to begin with. Somebody said I looked scary.
You were in law enforcement.
I will say the first day I was like, who is this guy? I just wasn't used to seeing you around. And I was like, oh, he's cool.
And I get it, right? It's a new face in your guys' environment. You introduce most faculty or staff members typically are a new person with a new role inside the school. So, my first day I was actually working on some things here that they already have in place, just kind of trying to make them a little better. I will tell you guys, Cristo Rey has done a really good job of protecting the students here. Very proactive with that. And that was kind of like one of the draws here for me, was the fact that they are so proactive in that aspect and taking some of the suggestions that I gave them before I even started here, just when I was kind of helping them out with their security and safety team, that they've actually implemented. So that, for me, that was big.
Hey guys, it's Jade. Don't forget that this weekend Daylight Saving Times ends. That means you need to set your clocks back 1 hour. It also means that on Sunday there will actually be 25 hours in that day. What are you going to do with that extra hour? I think since it's a weekend, it's the perfect time to relax and chill. Maybe watch a new movie.
Speaking of safety, I know that you guys are here as a means of protection, but is there any advice that you could give to some of the students, especially like freshmen, on what they can do personally to make sure that they stay safe, and if they see a problem, what they should do?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's always that see something, say something, right? A lot of people get nervous about see something, say something because they're like, well, I don't want to get anybody in trouble. If you don't say anything, well, if that person is a danger, and now people are getting hurt. So I always tell people, to see something, say something, come tell me. Let me decide whether that person's in danger or not. You know what I mean? It's better to get it out there. We all have kind of that sixth sense, hair on the back of your neck stands up. That's a red flag. Something's wrong, right? So tell somebody. I'm actually working on putting into the newsletter quick little safety column every time it's released with a tip, a safety tip. The big one is, don't walk by anywhere by yourself. Walk in pairs or group. Keep your face out of your phones. Know your surroundings. Situational awareness is a big thing. It's one thing I practiced with my kids when they were younger. We'd go to the Polaris Mall. And when you're in law enforcement, you're never off duty because if bad things happen, you got to react. And my kids understood that. It was hard for them, but they understood that. So we would go into like a place like Polaris Mall or even the East End, but we would go into the middle of the mall and I'd say, okay, where'd we park? And they'd have to tell me where we parked at. So that's part of that awareness. And they knew if something happened, they'd take the keys, I would meet them at the car. Their job was to get to the vehicle. With that situational awareness, there's like exit signs in buildings. Like in the mall, if you're walking, you ever been to the Polaris Mall? Yeah. You're like walking through the middle of the mall and you see those exit signs in between the stores. People think those are just for deliveries. Well, they're not. They take you right to the parking lot. They're actually exits. So, having those things in your mind while you're walking places are, that's a big thing. Again, heads out of phones. Keep at least one ear open. A lot of people wear the earbuds now or have headphones on. Keep at least one ear open. If you're walking down the sidewalk, the ear closest to the street. Keep it open so you can hear cars coming or sirens coming. That's a big one. I watch kids walk across the street here in a crosswalk. It scares the crap out of me because it's like faces are in phones and here we go. Yeah, so and then you try to yell and then they got earbuds in and they can't hear you. And, so that means you're not going to hear a car or a car horn because you walk down in front of one. So, those are our big things, right? And another one I tell people, if you are walking by yourself and you see something that doesn't look right, get your phone up to, even if you're not talking to anybody, get your phone up to your ear and act like you're talking to somebody. That will deter a lot of different things. But the biggest one is just situational awareness. Just knowing your surroundings and everything around your surroundings.
Hey guys, it's your girl Icy here. Next Saturday, November 11th, is Veterans Day, and we'll have the Friday off from school to recognize that. Here's Mr. Corrigan with an explanation of the meaning behind that day.
Next week, November the 11th, is Veterans Day. This holiday was first celebrated on November the 11th, 1919, originally called Armistice Day. That date was chosen as the one-year anniversary of the end of World War I, to honor the veterans of that particular conflict. At the time, the most violent and destructive war the world had ever known. On the original Armistice Day, all business was suspended for 2 minutes at 11 a.m. for people to pause, reflect, and pray. This symbolized the end of fighting in World War I, which occurred on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. Today, Veterans Day honors all American veterans, living and dead. One of the purposes of that original Armistice Day was to take a moment to reflect on the horrors of a war that was fresh in the memories of Americans at the time, to pray that the peoples of the world would never again wage war. Unfortunately, as you know, 100 years later, war is still with us. Please take a few moments at 11 a.m. on November the 11th to pray for peace in the world.
Thanks, Mr. Corrigan. And did you know we have veterans of the U.S. military working here at Cristo Rey? So find out more. Be sure to listen to the podcast next week for our special Veterans Day episode.
It's not living in fear of being paranoid. Just knowing, hey, if I got to go somewhere, if I got somebody walking toward me that looks like they're suspect and they might try to hurt me, I'm looking for, okay, where can I go? You know what I mean? So, and that's it. Come up with the plan and then continue what you're doing.
With the crosswalks, we have Mr. Corrigan
In the afternoon,
Mr. Maxwell
yeah.
holding up a stop sign for everyone.
Yeah, and that's good. I'm working on getting some more signage and more lights out there. The ones I've seen are in the trees. So you really, cars coming they can't see them until they're right on them, which isn't good. So I've actually reached out to some of my contacts down here and see if we can't get that done for you guys.
So did you ever feel like as a father you had to be harder on your daughters in terms of protection, or was it just like...
No, me being a police officer kind of done that on its own. So my youngest daughter's boyfriend's scared to death of me, and I haven't done anything to him. So he's a great kid. I love him to death. He's one of my football players, but he's very intimidated by the fact that I'm still in law enforcement. But I'm like one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. So my oldest daughter, both of them. So my oldest daughter and my youngest daughter, I still work with them, but I've taught them how to kind of fight and take care of themselves, because I don't want them to be a victim or have a victim mindset. My oldest, I think if something went down, she'd probably be shaking in the corner. My youngest, she's gonna come at you. That's how she is. So I have like full boxing gear. I've got body pads so they can actually physically hit me and do that. But I didn't feel like I had to do. I've done with my son as well. So we live in a scary world currently, and just being able to know a little bit of taking care of yourself is a good thing.
Yeah.
And it's not movie stuff. It's if you attack me, I want to do a quick strike somewhere or something, and then I'm getting away from you. I'm not going to stand there and go toe to toe, right? It's not the movies, it's real life.
Disable and get out of there.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for being here. I hope you like it in the Cristo Rey community, and as you begin to get more familiar with students, I hope you really enjoy the people here, and I hope you enjoy your job here.
Yep, I'm happy to be here. Come say hi if you see me in the hallway.
Why is Mr. Corrigan playing this cheesy theme song? Isn't this from that old Batman TV show from the 60s? Who even knows what that is? Because he fights crime? Is that the connection? Wow.
Next week. This was the Cristo Rey. This was the Cristo Rey. This was the Cristo Rey podcast.